This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Dawson Tire and Wheel, the premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America. Get a grip. What's up, fellas?
Fella.
That's like it's a junior natural term. This is Moving Iron Podcast number 100.
Woo-hoo!
Big time now. So yeah, this is the 100th episode of this hot mess we call a podcast, I guess. So it's been a fun run. So I wanted to get my two favorite people in the world back in here on the show and have them talk about what was going on out there in the market and what's going on. So Big Pimpin' Aaron Fintelel, what's up?
Wait, and today is Casey's birthday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's my birthday. It is my birthday today.
That's right.
I'm 12. Okay. In case you can't tell all my antics. All right. So, Aaron, what's been going on, man?
Just trying to keep moving iron.
How's that going for you?
You know, the last couple weeks, stuff's been moving pretty decent. There's a pretty steady trickle. Not much in the way of harvest equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Talked with some guys on some combines. Still got some combine deals floating around out there, but for the most part, it's just kind of, still selling some hay equipment.
That's kind of weird this late in the year to be.
It is.
As far as hay
Very
equipment
weird.
to have that such a demand in hay. I've noticed that where balers, especially, like everyone's in their last cutting. I don't care where you're at. Maybe down south, way south, you might have one more left or something like that.
Like Guatemala.
Yeah, Guatemala.
We're on our 10th cut of me alfalfa.
Actually, it'd be almost winter there, for sure.
Well, they're kind of equatorial.
But see, that's the thing about it, though. They're close enough to the equator that you don't really know for sure where they're at.
Yeah. Is it Christmas or 4th of July? I don't know.
It's like the Pat of environments. Not
The
for
what?
sure what it is. Pat, remember from Saturday Night Live?
Oh,
You don't-
guys.
You don't know for sure what you got, so.
But no, that's it. Just trying to keep after it, and this week's been kind of slow. Been sick and fighting that, but I'm here for the 100th because I am a dedicated fella.
I appreciate that. That was great. So combines.
Combines.
This time of the year, this is kind of when we start seeing that peak selling cycle for combines, right? So you start looking at all the stuff kind of coming towards the end of the year. Guys start making those end of the year purchases or start thinking about all the different stuff they're going to do with their purchases, and combines is always something on that list, right? Whether they're going to purchase a new combine or whether they're going to get a new to them combine, or are they going to repair what they've got, run it through the winter service program. All those different things start coming into play. What's the combine buzz out there that you see right now, and how's that shaping up, you think, towards the end of the year?
I don't know that there's any specific realm that's a buzz. And stuff that I've sold in the last couple weeks, it's been late model low houred, and it's been banged out dirt cheap. So if there's anything that isn't, it's the run of the mill 1,000 to 15 sep combine.
All right.
That the under 500s have been going pretty good. The cheap is good. Cheap always sells.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it's at. More, and more. I feel like the 70 series love affair has calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's just downward pressure from the S's, because that's kind of ugly. Depending on the week, sometimes there's an auction and you're like, holy cow, we're
Right.
not even asking that. And then the next one, it's, wow, if you get 3 for that.
Do you think a lot of that 70 series, there's a lot of buzz 18 months ago, 24 months ago when it came to the 70 series combine, and a lot of those ones that you saw come through had 1,500, 1,800 separator hours on them now. I'm not saying you can't find those, because they're there, but they're not nearly as plentiful as they once were.
Right.
And kind of what's left now, you start seeing that 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 separator hour
Yeah.
70 series.
Yep, that's exactly it. You're predominantly over 1,500 now,
Yeah.
whereas there's probably still some flag flyers out there for the under 1,500 sep,
Yep.
but it just comes down to And another thing, the S series, you know, everybody's doom and gloom with the 12s and all that. Really flew that 70 series flag for a long time, and that's kind of calmed down a lot too.
Mhm.
And the S's are kind of, in a sense, they're holding their own weight,
Right.
but in another sense, they're a combine and the market sucks. So
Right.
there you go.
Yep. Well, yeah. Combine is a combine is a combine. It seems like every day. Gina, what are you seeing out there? You are painting pictures of nice Nebraska sunsets and watching cows run on Twitter. So what's been going on at the Narjes Ranch, and what else has been going on in the world of Regina Narjes?
Oh, we've been pretty busy harvesting millet, which
Yep.
for those that don't know what millet is, it's a bird seed. So spent a week or a little over a week getting that done and starting to seed wheat. It's kind of dry in our area. We could use a little bit of rain. But yeah, just moving along, and we'll probably be harvesting corn here like everybody else in the rest of the Corn Belt and all the things that are fall.
Yeah, no, that is for sure. So what are some of the trends you see out there on social media now that you're kind of starting to pay attention to?
It definitely looks like, you know, the USDA is calling for another bumper crop. It definitely looks like the guys that are harvesting are definitely having good yields. I think in Iowa and Illinois, that kind of direction, they've been hit with a lot of rain, so everything's kind of, that was started, kind of has been paused now. And I've kind of been paying attention to the hurricane stuff too,
Yeah.
you know, just kind of seeing what those producers are going through and how they're faring through all that kind of stuff, and determining what's fake news and what's real news, and so it's kind of fun to follow along with those folks as well.
Right. No, so there's, you know, we get some mic stands, you know what I'm talking about? Like the things that come up and you got
Yeah.
a little hinge point, I could be like
Oh,
right
yeah.
here. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? Instead of being like, hi, I'm what to talk to. It's so annoying, dude. It's just a stupid mic stand.
Or when you bump it, like
oh,
we
it's-
both have.
Yeah, it's like, I ever thought, it drives me crazy. So I'm buying some mic stands. We're going to get that taken care of. All right. All right, so now, got all the hurricane stuff going on. I'm kind of anxious to get a hold of some of those folks down there and get them on the podcast and kind of get their feel for what happened, because it wasn't so much the hurricane winds that was the issue. It was the 40-plus inches of rain that they got,
Yeah,
and the storm surge that came with that and everything else. So there's going to be a strong. I'm just anxious to see what their
Yeah.
rebound's going to look like and how that's going to affect that overall market. You know.
Well, you know, and as far as the overall market, although it's a big area, you know, if you're there, obviously it's a huge area if you lose everything, but national grand scheme of things, it's not enough that's going to matter.
Yeah.
If that hurricane was in Chicago, it'd be a whole different deal.
No, I'm talking from like the equipment side of the business, like how that's going to affect equipment sales and what inventory levels across the U.S. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't really affect it that much when Harvey came through
Right.
South Texas last year. You know, and I think most people are smart enough to get their stuff to high ground and do. Really, what hurt it the most was the cut market. People left them in the garage, and there's 15 feet of water, you know, and you get an extra deal out of it. So, if it were me though, I would probably go find that farmer that harvests corn right on the beach, and see if I couldn't sell him like 25 or 30 combines,
Right.
and just
Yeah.
just have him demo whichever one he wants, and then hope,
And then
just
just park
Right.
it here.
and just come pick him up after the
Yeah.
fact, you know.
Right.
It'll work out good for him.
Just sign this PO. We don't have to change money.
It's just a simple demo contract, sir.
Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the free hay market. I've never seen the hay market. I've seen it hot, like it's been hot all summer long, but it's not been as where it is now and what we see happening now. It's really going deep into the summer, and here we are into September. You know, today's officially the last day of summer. You know, moving into tomorrow being the first day of fall, and we still have a lot of active deals on guys that want hay stuff to go use it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not just for an end of the year purchase, but they want to use it. Guys you talk with across the country, What are you seeing out there as far as hay equipment goes? What's your feel for that? Are we on an island or is that a nationwide thing?
We're an island to a point, just because, and I would say that the reason I say we're an island is because we do a substantial amount of grass hay, okay, in this and throughout our AOR, and we have been pretty blessed with moisture all year, so I think that is by far a driving factor in our hay business compared to anything else, and I think that's why you get certain pockets of the country, maybe you get Wisconsin, Minnesota, where they get moisture anyway, and they're not short this year whatsoever. That's going to help some dry land, alfalfa production and stuff there. But as far as a nationwide thing and the hay demand being super strong yet, I think that's pretty much us on an island.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Right. How do you think the hay market's been affected for the movement south? Where we've seen a lot of hay obviously going south to Texas, Oklahoma, the drought-stricken areas, but they've gotten some rain, not necessarily enough to do much good. I know back home around Wichita, went back home for my dad's hog roast, and they got 6 or 7 inches of rain in a week, and they hadn't gotten anything prior to that. And then this week I talked to them this morning, and they'd gotten about an inch of rain overnight. So, I mean, they've gotten lots of rain, quite a bit,
Right.
Now it's a little too late, I'm sure it's going to help some soybeans and that kind of stuff, but the hay market south, when you start looking at that, how do you see the sale of equipment as a whole? I mean, do you see stuff coming out of the south, guys trying to get, smoking hot deals on swathers and balers where there's just no market for it right now? Or do you see kind of same status quo as usual?
No, more status quo than usual. Early on in the, say, spring and early summer, there was a little bit of that, I got nothing to use this on, so I'm going to sell it, and some deals out there as far as that goes. But by and large, it hasn't been any kind of, free-for-all down there on guys dumping stuff.
Right.
I think they're all, if they didn't use it this year, they're going to
Use it next year.
pray to God they can use it next year type of deal.
Yep.
I think too, like here locally, a lot of our push is also driven by the dairies that are so close to us. We have a lot of dairies in the Front Range in Colorado, and I think that's driving a lot of the hay market, organic hay, so to speak. There's a big push for that right now in the dairy market, so I think that's locally kind of what's really pushing us a little bit further with the hay market. It's always going to be hot here because we're Nebraska, Colorado, we're beef country, right? So there's always going to be a strong demand, but I think it's some part of that dairy industry that's really kind of pushing it over.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the amount of dairies that we've seen move into this immediate area, not so much here in the Western Panhandle, but you start looking at Fort Morgan, Greeley, and that kind of that quadrant, that northeast Colorado quadrant area. There's been a lot of dairies that move in that area.
Yeah.
And there's
East to I-25 and north I-70.
Yeah, and there's also been a lot
all over.
of feed lots and stuff like that have moved in there too.
Right.
So now
there's been a lot of dairies moving into even the eastern half of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Where there was none.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden there's great big dairies there.
Yeah.
Kind of overnight. So.
Yeah. Which is funny. I mean, with the shape that the dairy market's in, a lot of these folks are moving out of California. Moving out of Oregon and Wisconsin, Washington and those areas, and moving into. A couple of podcasts ago, I had Adam Verner from Elite Ag on Georgia and how fast Georgia has been exploded into a pretty large dairy producing state in the last 5 or 6 years. So I mean, it's kind of a cool thing to watch that kind of happen, that migration happen. Now, one industry leaves one area and kind of got to readjust, and then a new one comes in and you got to figure it all out. But there's that's a good point about the dairies and stuff, how that's going to be. How that has shaped our overall marketplace, that's for sure. That is for sure. So I wish we could talk about choppers because that's an awesome topic,
Yeah, darn it anyway.
right?
Shucks.
But just
Let me wipe my tear quick.
but just like that market is now, we're going to go ahead and just leave it be because nothing's happening here or there. So we're just gonna
Right.
let that dog lie. So let's talk about row crop tractors. One of my, we high horsepower row crops and where that's at. Noticed a little bit of stagnation there, a little bit, not a bunch, but I have noticed that there's starting to be a few more larger, higher horsepower tractors out there that are starting to kind of pile up a little bit, not a bunch, but just a little bit. What are you seeing out there, and what do you think some of the causes behind that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the large 8R and the 300 plus horsepower has slowed down quite a bit, and I don't know if it's. I think from the way the market was, it's slowed down a lot, but I don't think it's in any kind of trouble for where it probably should have been.
Right.
We've just moved so many of those all over the country for, 18 months, 2 years, just nonstop as soon as they come in, that eventually the guys buying those are going to have them.
Right.
And with the way the farm economy is, you're just eventually going to run out of buyers for that tractor.
Right.
The 1,500 to 3,000 hour tractor still moving.
Right.
At a steady trickle, not a runaway whatsoever, and nothing to write home about, but they're still moving, and what I've seen gaining some strength here is you getting them older 8Rs, the first generation, and then maybe 11s and 12s that you get that have, say, 4,000, 5,000, even 6,000 hours on them.
Mm-hmm.
If you have those tractors right, and they're farm tractors, not feedlot, not dairy operations, if you have tractors like that, those have been really hot.
Yeah.
Because you get them in a price point down there enough where guys got an 8420, 8520, and he's like, wow, I can get an R for that. And
Yeah.
there you go.
Yep. So you do a lot of deals of the day that you send out to our sales group and social media and everywhere else that you post that. To Aaron's point, some of that driving factor behind that still is the leasing, and
Yeah.
it's a payment-driven marketplace.
Yep.
So when you put those out there, what are you seeing? You seeing pretty good, depending on obviously the price, obviously, but I mean the ones you can tell. When can you tell that you've hit the sweet spot?
Usually on a row crop tractor, like on an 8R, anything with a payment under 22,000 maybe, depending upon what it is it's gone,
Right.
Especially if you get one under 20, it doesn't last very long, because there's a lot of guys that are still, maybe contemplating an extra tractor for tillage or something else extra that they need during the fall. And $19,000, $18,000 payment is a pretty easy way to get into something that maybe they're not 100% sure if they need it long term,
Right.
but they know they need it in the short term. So lease it, use it, not put any extra hours on whatever else they have, and that seems to be a real mover.
Yeah.
Combines, we haven't had a lot of traction on those just because it's been kind of quiet, but
Yep. It's hard. The combine market's just tough right now, irregardless of payments, irregardless of maintenance plans or whatever. It's a tougher than market than we probably have seen. We were talking about this on Monday, that I was talking about 18 being one of the tougher years in this downturn, because of the fact the guys that were in good shape still are in good shape, obviously, but they've had to do a lot to stay there. You know what I mean? Like they've had to do a lot of the equity that they've lost, and there's machinery that they've ran for 5 years that they normally would have traded 3 times in that period.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're looking at repair bills and those kind of things. It's just the cash flow. That's why the payments are such a big deal. So, guys, you're talking to, Aaron, what are some of the sentiments you're hearing out there when you start talking to some of the folks you're dealing with?
As far as where the economy's
Yeah,
at,
I mean, kind of what's your feel for with the guys you've been talking with? I mean,
there's still there's a substantial amount of asking every day,
right?
and talking about stuff, and if, it's kind of like I've said on here a few times, even with the economy as bad as it is, and even if it gets worse than it is, if you have, the right deal at the right price, you're still going to move it.
Right.
So there's a lot of that right now, and then a lot of, still the daily battle of, man, that's a deal, but I can't afford it.
Right.
And and the guy's kind of like, if it was free, I couldn't afford it right now, because
Right.
it would cost me at least a nickel somewhere down the line. So
Right.
there's a lot of that right now, mostly related to combines, probably more than anything. So, that by and large, there's still equipment moving. We as a company been still selling stream of stuff.
We've been selling good. They've been having good sales.
And, a lot of other dealers are kind of in that same spot, and some other dealers are scared to death. And
Yeah.
it's so, I was going to say day to day, but it's even hourly to hourly now,
Yeah.
lately. So,
Yeah.
I have been seeing a lot of corn heads move. Seems
Yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
been a lot of corn heads
Yeah.
here before fall that have kind of gotten hot a little bit,
Yep.
at least in our area.
What about 4-wheel drives? To me, that seems like one of the most stagnant things
Ugh.
out there.
it's real quiet.
Yeah.
And what's funny, if you look back to, like, say, when the 9Rs first came out.
Right. 2012.
Yeah, they were super, super stagnant. If you did not want to trade for a 4-wheel drive tractor.
Yeah.
And then you had, 15, 16, first half of 17, that it was, hammered down. You can't get enough of them. And now it's shut off again.
Yeah.
And I can remember back in the early days of the 30 series, kind of the same thing happening. That is a very, very cyclical market.
Right.
And it's very hard to pin down where it's going and when it's going to turn around and all that jazz, but you just kind of roll with it and do what you can.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed, and it's something I've been paying attention to, when the quad track had been out, and then John Deere introduced their 9RX, and I was kind of concerned about how that was going to take place. And my biggest concern wasn't so much how it was going to stack up against the quad track; it was how it was going to affect the 2-track market. Right.
Right.
I had myself convinced that the RT tractor was just going to be something that you should not have anywhere near anything that you have, because it was going to be the worst possible thing you could have, right? I mean, absolutely awful. And I don't know that it's missed a beat.
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't.
What I was going to say, I was never worried about that because, well, two things. One, I didn't want another 4-track on the market when John Deere wasn't first. And B, I've sold enough 9Rs through the years, or RTs and 9000Ts through the years, to guys that have demoed a quad track or used to own one after they had a yellow one or a green one, and then went with a quad track and went back to 2-track. So I guess I really wasn't worried about that. I thought it might have an impact initially, because, they're new and sexy and all that, but I don't think it's had any impact whatsoever. There's just a lot of applications where 2-track is better than 4.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I mean, I remember sitting there watching that, going like, man, how do you? Because we were taking a bunch of 2-track, looking at 2-tracks, and they were trading to a 9RX, right? And I'm like, well, god dang, if everyone's doing this, what's that secondary marketplace going to look like? And I think if any of the quote, 4-wheel drive market, if you want to put that quotes here, 9R
Air quotes.
the used 9RX marketplace is one of the most. It's so hot. If you can find them that aren't, we watch them sell on different auction outlets and different stuff like that, and I watch what people are paying for them, and I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of money. But then you're like, well, I mean, a new one.
Right.
You go look at what a new one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And whether it's John Deere or Casey, either one of them, you know what I mean? They're expensive, right? So, do you feel like that? Do you have a lot of people saying, "Man, if I could find a used fill in the blank here, 9RX, I'm in the market for something like that"?
Not so much. I've moved a couple that we've had, you know, and it was pretty instantaneous. And then a couple others we've had, you kind of drag along and sit on your hands and wait and see what happens type of deal. But you know, I was going to say it's hot if you have a home for it. Duh, everything is. But it's
a powerful statement.
It is.
It's deep.
Just throwing myself out there.
Really,
you know, I think
bringing
it's
it home there.
It's very price point.
Right.
You know, when you have used tractors that are over $400,000 and they're still cheap for what they are.
Yeah.
It's a very, very price point driven market.
Yeah.
More so, you know, probably just as bad as combines.
Yeah.
And what I've run into, you know, a little bit with them things is most all that we have around here are every single option on them.
Right.
And there's a lot of other places in the world they just don't care and don't want to pay for that.
Right.
So it's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What's your take?
I don't know. It seemed like earlier in the year there was a lot of interest in them, and it seems like the last half of the summer going into the fall here, it's just been
It's kind
quiet.
of fizzled. Yeah.
But everything's quiet.
Yeah, everything
you know?
is pretty
I got
quiet.
a free 8360R, brand new on blocks. Kick it around.
Yeah. What's on blocks?
Huh?
It's on blocks.
Well, you put it on blocks so the tires don't get square.
Oh, to get those flat spots.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Just
get
like a muscle car.
Right. Yep.
Same thing.
Yep. That's what I do with my my old Jaguar. I got up there. Just have it set up there just a little bit. All right. Well, what else has been going on? What's been happening out there in the world of Aaron Fennel?
Not much. Not much. Bought a place out in the country.
Oh, I
so
forgot about that, dude. You added some acreage to the
Yeah.
Fennel sheep farm.
Now I can put even more sheep on top of sheep on top of sheep. So
Yep. It's, you've got.
they've been out there for 10 days and been out 3 times. So that's
well,
pretty
that's
awesome.
good. That's good. I mean,
neighbors love that.
Things are looking up, man. I mean, you got what, a total of how many acres now?
15.
Look out, dude. How many sheep
Wow.
is that?
Huh?
How many sheep can you get on 15 acres?
300. Well, no, because
The
it's
sheep baron of western Nebraska.
No.
Right there.
no. Now I'm more.
He's got the sheriff in his
Legal.
pocket.
Yeah. Oh shit. No, you can have more than 3. Actually, whether it's 5 acres or 15,
Mm-hmm.
you can have 300 because it all goes off of the confinement, Nebraska confinement livestock rules.
Yeah.
So now I have 2 confinements.
Nice. See, look at that, dude. Bending the rules, getting around everything.
Oh,
Mover and shaker over here.
read how you read it.
It's all good. It's all good. Bought yourself that new house there. You got it moved in. Got the internet in.
Internet's in. Yeah.
That's good.
Thank God. It's a
That's
bad
good.
deal.
Well, there goes all your entertainment, right?
Why?
And you got the internet, so you're good to go.
Oh, yeah.
Gina, what have you been up to? What's been going on out in your neck of the woods? You've been farming, obviously. You've been
Yeah.
harvesting, what have you. What else
Yeah.
you been doing?
You know, I'm a gardener, so
Oh, look at that.
yeah. Making some salsa, putting
There
in some
you go.
pickles.
Nice.
Got some pumpkins in the pumpkin patch.
I like pumpkins. They're my favorite.
Chasing my kids around like always.
Yep. No, I hear you.
What
Right
about
on.
you, Casey?
I'm a pretty boring guy. I mean, I go home and
Eat salad and lift weights.
Jackson Steel.
well, I'll do that in the morning. I get up in the morning and do that.
Get some.
No, the last few weeks have been just trying to keep everything, new job and everything, trying to get all that stuff kind of rolling. So it's been learning all that new stuff and doing what's there. But yeah, it's been been pretty quiet. I mean, my kids, you know, my oldest boy's in middle school, so he runs cross country, so he's been doing that, and you know, not much, man. Pretty boring guy. I don't have a whole lot going on outside of work, you know. Done. I mean, it's hunting season though. Been shooting dove.
Mm.
Doing that. So that's been fun. But other than that, that's about it. So.
Right on.
Well, we've officially wasted 30 minutes of people's time. So.
Should we talk about Vegas at all?
Yeah, I probably should do that. I'm a really good promoter too, by the way. All right, so a couple weeks, October 2nd through the 4th, if you're a dealer and you want to come to a outstanding, fabulous, amazing, good time that you actually learn something too, come check out the Movie 9 Summit. Well, if you show up, it's a good time, right? Now, if you want to check it out, go to Movie 9 LLC and check out the website there. There's information on the hotel information and getting registered for the meeting. So if you're at all interested in going, I think it's worthwhile. Aaron's been to all of them, and I mean, he's been to all of them. I'm just, you know, some of them he was in the same zip code anyway. Let's put it that way. So it's good times. But for the most part, you get. It's a great way to interact with folks, and it's a great way to just catch up on what's going on in the industry from across the country. So. If you got a minute, check it out.
Put faces to names and network.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things about it, is just the networking into it. Gina, she gets to go this year. It's her first year.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I have to work at it, so it's like, you know, I mean, it's just whatever.
You have to work at it.
Yeah.
Jackie has to work at it.
Oh, she takes extra money just in case someone needs to get bailed out. But other than that, we're good to go. So, all right. Well, Aaron, you got anything else before we shut it down?
I don't, man.
Gina?
I'm good.
100 is come and gone.
Yep.
Come and gone. Let's just say, for example, I'm, at home cruising, kind of hanging out, doing my thing, and I'm like, where's my iPad at? Let's see what's going on the Twitterverse. I want to swing by Rural Route 2, Aaron Fintel's house, and see what's going on. Where would I find that at?
At Aaron Fintel on Twitter and on Facebook, or call or text my cell, 308-760-1193.
And Regina, just to say, I wanted to see some cool pictures of either your kid dunking a cat in the water, or you chasing a cow on a four-wheeler, or a beautiful sunset. Where would I find that at?
Whoa, you got it wrapped up all in one there. RR Janousek, Janousek on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook or Instagram, Regina Narjes.
Right on. And if you really, you're going to come find just a podcast. You're not going to see any life-changing tweets from my Twitter account. I promise you. But if you want to come check it out, it's at movie9llc.com. It's my website, or at movie9 LLC, or you can do the same thing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And special thanks to Dawson Tire and Wheel. They've been a great sponsor for this podcast, and they made a lot of what you see here possible. So I greatly appreciate what they've done for me in this podcast. So I think that's all I've got. So until next time, I'm Casey Seymour.
I'm Aaron Fintel.
Regina Narjes.
Let's go move some iron. Out.